We are back on Morning Line. Thanks for joining us. Clint Kelly with us, malpractice attorney. We've had a few phone calls. You see Morning Line sponsored by Clint this morning. 737-7587 is the number if you have a question or comment. And we've got lines open until the 9 o'clock hour. All right, Clint, so I just thought we'd touch bases on, we touched on statute of limitations.
Yes.
Wanted to make sure people understand when they call you about a case, they don't have to pay you up front, right?
No, they don't. They have to pay anything unless there's a recovery. They pay me out of the sums recovered, and so I front the expenses, pay for the experts, pay for the depositions, but pay for everything. And then we get to a point, either one or two things are going to happen. Either we're going to settle the case, at which time whatever the funds are in the settlement, that's used to pay my expenses and my fee, which is a third by law, and then the rest goes to the client. Or we go to trial, and the recovery is what the jury says the recovery is. Sometimes there's no recovery, sometimes there's a large recovery, and there's some in between. But that's where the jury decides what my client's going to get, and out of that recovery, my fee is paid, and the jury awards costs, or excuse me, the judge awards costs after the jury renders a verdict. Now, I will say hospitals and doctors win about 80% of the trials, so you have to be very, very careful which cases you take to trial, and make sure that you know what you're getting yourself into, because there are some cases that, frankly, Nick, just don't need to be tried. They need to be settled.
And that's the thing. Okay, so you've got decisions when you get a case that comes through your door. One, whether to take it in the first place. Second, if you're going to be able to work it out and settle. One of the things I like about Clint is he's not afraid to litigate. Do you actually have a trial coming up without going into details?
Yeah, I got two of them.
Trials. And it's just, okay,
I've got one that starts Monday, and I got one that's set April the 20th.
All right, so when you have trials coming up.
Both of those are cases to try.
I assume, but do you have a chance to, you tried to settle.
Sure.
And there was not a meeting that you felt was satisfactory, or on the other side was satisfactory, so let's go to trial.
Turned down settlements in both of them.
Turned down settlements?
Yeah. Now the second one, we'll have another opportunity. We'll have an opportunity to settle again. The second one, the first one, we just couldn't come to terms on the price. And that happens.
And you've told me, some of the stories he's told me in the past are great. You've had cases sometimes when an offer was made that you thought was something should be accepted, and your client chose not to take it and went to trial. You're going to do what you, and you lost.
Lost.
And they lost. You could have had all that money, but he insisted, or she, I don't know the details, and you went. And so in that case, you said, I think this is fair, but they said no. Was it more a matter of principle for this family, maybe? Not so much about the money?
I don't know if you call it principle. It was simply the fact that they were insisting on a certain amount of money based on the facts, and they were really emotional about it, which is completely understandable when you've been injured badly. The fact of the matter is the medicine was against them. The medicine of the case was against them. I knew that, and that's why I tried to get them to take the settlement that was being proposed. They just didn't agree with me, but they're the boss. I work for them, not the other way around. And so we go in and we try the best case we can try, and unfortunately we didn't win. And
it was a jury trial?
Yeah.
Okay, and they had to understand at the end.
The longest walk the client makes is a walk to the car when they left money on the table and lost the case. And I try to tell clients that I give them my best judgment as to what I think is the right amount to settle for, and and I've been wrong before. I've been wrong in cases where I thought they were being offered enough, and the jury gave more money. I've been wrong about cases where I thought that the defendant should have paid more money, and I lost. So you just, the truth of it is you never know what a jury's going to do. But at the same time, you have to be very, very careful, because in these cases, I think more than many others, the stats are against the patient. Doctors and hospitals go into trials with a presumption in their favor by jurors. Jurors respect doctors. They look at hospitals and think that hospitals have a tough job to do, and so the burden on the patient to prove the case is a whole lot higher than it would be for an auto wreck case or some other type case.
It's so interesting how that's the way it works. I thought of you recently when I was just completing the John Grisham's most recent book. John Grisham, of course, author, writes a lot of legal thrillers, Time to Kill, The Firm. And this most recent one, what came to mind was there was court testimony, and it talked about how this firm had to hire experts on various things to testify to. And I remember reading where, like, this one expert, they had the budget and they had to bring him in at $30,000 for him to testify. Now, I know you have to bring in, and this was not, the Grisham book does not deal so much with medical malpractice, but it was a crime thing where they had to bring him in a blood spatter expert from a university, and $30,000. And Grisham's books are usually online. you have to do that too, which is out of your pocket when you go to trial, right?
Sure. I mean,
so how expensive these? And I wonder when anyone calls an expert that's being paid, you know they're testifying on behalf of the angle. How does a juror decide? Well, he's just saying that because he's getting paid, or say, well, he's a real expert and he's telling us the truth.
Okay, that's a good point. There's two ways to look at that.
And it happens on both sides,
sure.
with prosecution too.
Sure. Experts are paid persuaders.
Okay.
Juries know this, okay? I used to think it was a big deal how much they charged until I found out that that's the same thing the defense experts charge. And so when you bring your people in there and it's revealed what they charge, and then the defendants bring their people in there and it's revealed what they charge, the jury realizes real quick, well, that's what all these guys charge. Yeah. The jurors are smart. They know these people are paid persuaders. The question is the paid persuader shooting straight?
Yeah.
Or is the paid persuader just simply trying to persuade?
Okay, and that's going to be based on the evidence and whether it makes sense and cross-examination. If you trip them up, I'm sure you've tripped a few people up. What does it cost? What are the ranges? What's the most you've ever paid an expert? I don't know if you can share that with me, but how high does it get?
I paid about $30,000 for a surgeon. Okay. Your typical cost is going to be anywhere between 12 to 20.
If you're a surgeon or a doctor or an expert, that's good work if you can get it, right? 30 grand, you review a case, and then you sit on a bench for a day.
Yeah, sure.
Not a bad gig, I suppose.
It's not, but
you're being called an expert.
Think about this, Nick. Think of what they had to do to become an expert.
Oh, I know.
These are people that went to school for 12 years. A lot of them did. If they're in the surgeon business, they're people that give up their time at work, their surgery schedule to go testify, and I do believe most of them do it for the right reasons. They do it because they believe in the case, they believe there's been a mistake, just like there are experts for the defense who believe that the care was fine.
So when you looked at it yourself, and I know you're very knowledgeable on this, but when you've taken a case to one of your experts, has there been a time when the expert looked it over and said, Clint, I know what you're driving at here, but I don't see it?
That happens most of the time.
So they'll say, look, I'd like to help you, and I know you're going to pay me to testify, but I cannot testify to what you're arguing here because the evidence doesn't back it up.
I want everybody in the public to know, most of the time the cases that I send for review are turned down by experts.
Because they just say, I can't see it.
Can't make a case out of it. And I can only go with what my expert says.
You let them explain that to you.
Sure. Yeah. So, and they're people I trust. I want somebody to tell me the truth. I don't want some expert to tell me I got a case. I spend $50,000 or $100,000 go to trial and get my tail kicked in because the expert's no good.
Right, they got to be honest with you.
So I want the guy who knows exactly what he's doing. He'll tell it balls and strikes, tell me what it really is, and then when that person's been proven true, in other words, when I've gone to trial with that expert and I win, and I know that expert knows what he's talking about, that's the person I want reviewing my cases. I don't want some yes man who's just going to take my money and hang me out to dry.
Is there any hesitancy ever, because it could be a fraternity or sorority, if you will, of doctors testifying against doctors? Like they don't want to look, yeah, he made a mistake, but look, this is a buddy of mine, which is maybe why sometimes you go out of state.
I've got that right. Remember I told you about that case with a man who's paralyzed, you know, from the aorta dissection surgery. Two of the experts in the case are vascular surgeons in Jackson, Mississippi, and they both are good friends. And one's testifying for the defense and one's testifying for me.
Holy cow.
And the guy's testifying for me was asked during his deposition, well, you know Dr. Mitchell, just pick a name out of the air. He said, yes, I know Dr. Mitchell. I'd even go to him if I needed to. He said, well, don't you agree with what Dr. Mitchell said? And he said, no, he's just wrong. You know, seriously,
friends can disagree.
He's my buddy. You know, of all the professions, even more so than law, nobody disagrees in a profession like doctors with other doctors. It's amazing how he said, well, that's his opinion. I got my opinion.
That's incredible when you think about it. Two qualified individuals coming to a different, that's where the jury's got its work cut out for it.
And so why they call it a battle of the experts.
All right, we'll take a break on that note. When we come back, our final segment with Clint Kelly right after this. Stay with us. So that